Hey, everybody.
Hey, people.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Craig and Pete's Bulletproof Dental Practice podcast. I've had to
AKA the Craig and Pete show today.
Craig and Pete show again today. I'm feeling like I'm doing all the intros because I just made I just invented my own mix of bulletproof coffee. You know, Craig, that was like my thing on how I did. I know I'm going way down a rabbit hole real quick, but I used to have people text me all the time because I talked about Bulletproof on Mark Costas, ironically about Bulletproof coffee years ago. And I had this like special recipe, and it was like my hack to getting thin because I got a little chubby there for a second and I kind of went keto. But I'm all hyped up on my new mix, which is a dry mix because making Bulletproof coffee is a pain in the ass. Have you ever made that stuff?
No, come on, man. I'm not into biohacks.
Okay. Well, those of you listening, I'm sure everyone knows about Bulletproof coffee. It's a pain in the butt, like butter and this and that, mixing and blending, and it's a pain in the ass. So I found a way to make it real easy by doing it all a dry mix, and it's really neat. So if you want that, let me know. But today,
And by the way, it has nothing to do with the podcast and the name of the
no,
podcast.
I just figured it was funny because you mentioned before I hit record, like you're all hyped. Go ahead today. And
Yeah, go
I'm
do
all
it.
hyped.
You're all hype.
I'm all hyped. Not all hype, but today's topic
It's a good one.
is a great one. And I feel like we're going to get super passionate about this one. It's called the 3 things you must do to increase production.
Yeah.
And Craig, this was a, we have a topics list of things that we've kind of curated from listening to people ask questions when we did that post a while back. And I think this was one that you kind of authored, if you will. And I think it's great. And the examples that you've kind of written down here are great and so obvious. And we forget sometimes that like what seems obvious to you and I, because we've struggled through a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And trying to navigate through the business of dentistry and balancing of dentistry, that we've distilled it down to 3 things that make sure you're doing. And where I should go with that is sometimes the obvious to us is needs to be reiterated.
Well, it's like you
Even
and I know.
to us.
Yeah, you and I know how to make the cake, so we don't really need to look at the recipe book. We forget about the recipe sometime, and the recipe is really important. You need formulas to make this happen. And by the way, most people don't know what they don't. I mean, they don't know what they don't know. Number one, and they don't know what's going on because they don't have appropriate data. So I want to jump in with the number one thing. That treatment acceptance, if that's okay. Can we talk about that?
Well, that's okay. But I think, sure, go. So number one would be treatment acceptance.
And the reason why I want to jump in with that is because anecdotally and with selection bias, the human behaviors that we have built into us, you actually don't know how you're really doing. So you meet a patient in a hygiene room, you're busy, you tell them about the crown they need. And I'm not talking about like cosmetic stuff. That's a whole different level. So if you're just like the average dentist, and by the way, average dentist could mean that you produce $1 million a year. So you could be high average. You've got to master the quad. So I know we always chase the big sexy idea of like the big cases, this $50,000 cases, but those people that can have like a 55, 60% acceptance rate and they do quadrant dentistry, they're crushing it, but they don't know how they're doing.
All right. So let me go back up, Greg, just a second.
Okay.
So you're not saying case acceptance, you're saying focus on so number one would be focus on treating quadrants.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. It's semantics, but yes, the biggest thing though is like we always talk about the trifecta to be a great dentist. You need to have great diagnostic skill. You need to be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to have great hands. You need to be able to do it. And you have to have great rapport. You need to be able to convince people to do it. Mm-hmm. And you can't stand without one of those legs. So we all know people, unfortunately, that have shitty hands, shitty diagnosis, but great rapport. So they're selling a bunch of stuff that people don't need and that doesn't work. And they make a lot of money. And that's really the travesty, because patients don't readily know the quality that they're getting. They just know he's really nice. He's super kind. And, he never hurts me. But they're doing bad things for patients. Or we know the people that are really talented with their hands. They can cut a beautiful crown prep. They're going to all the courses. They're taking all the courses how to polish your prep, and they know how to do it. And they're following all the guys on Instagram that do the zoomed in shots of their preps, but they have no ability to connect to patients.
Yeah. They go in and say things like, ma'am, you need a gross debridement.
No, your periodontium. I have a doctor right now, love him, but I just listened to one. He's got a 32% treatment acceptance rate. I listened to one of his consults. He pulls up an x-ray and the patient's just like, oh my God, what is that? Is that my toes? And then he goes through the whole 5 minutes of explaining an x-ray. And then the periodontium and the occlusal equilibration. I'm like, the guy's got decay, you got a hole in your tooth, you need a cap, you need a crown. We can do it today.
That's a great thing. As dentists, and we've talked about this before. I don't know about on the podcast or not, but as dentists, as engineers, as people who are very science-backed, our default when we get into uncomfortable situations or get an uncomfortable social or explaining, our default is to go more technical because that will, us looking super smart will save us, quote unquote.
But
right?
by the way, it works really good when you're talking to an engineer. So you'll have 100% acceptance when you give your treatment plan acceptance to an engineer or another doctor.
Duh. But I'm saying, and that's why it's so important that I always talk about body language, is because sometimes you are talking to an engineer, but you need to identify that in the context of who's sitting in that chair.
And you know how it's really easy if you're not a body language guy like you? Just say, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm Dr. Dan. You got some stuff going on. Are you the type of person that likes really, really detailed conversations, or would you rather have big picture? They'll tell you flat out, just give me big picture, doc. I trust you. I know what's going,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got two things, 22 teeth in your lower right have holes in them or cavities. One can be a filling, one can be a crown. Nancy here can help you fit the treatment you need into your budget. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah, how long will it take? I can do it in a single day. We have technology to do it in one day here. Oh, fantastic. No temporaries? Yeah, no goopy impressions, no temporaries. It'll be a scan. Sound good? You want to get started? Yeah, great. Versus, the stuff that we hear. And by the way, and
that was actually an adequate. So let's unpack that for a second, Craig. That was more powerful than you think, because we think that, all right, if I'm going to enroll quadrant dentistry, then I need to have this long-winded explanation. Like literally, that was the full extent of what that conversation could have and should have looked like if that person said yes to that answer, right? Meaning that was adequate. So when people start asking buying questions or questions that they're saying or agreeing,
right, yeah.
Stop talking. Yeah. Stop talking. Get out of the room. Leave. Because all you're going to do at that point is quote unquote unsell that you're just right.
And by the way, Pete, I'm sorry, I'm jumping here, and I'll calm down in 1 second. I just want to get this one thing out, and then you can talk.
You're going to talk about selling, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to talk about selling. Well, because everything does need to be sold, and we're not going to go there.
Okay.
But you ask the average dentist, what is your treatment acceptance rate? Meaning, what percentage of patients bought one of the things that you recommended? Mm-hmm. So let's just say you had 5 things. If they bought one, if everybody you saw, they had 5 issues, 5 cavities, 5 real cavities, by the way, and they're buying. So you're selling the problem, they're buying the solution, right? You met 5 patients, all had 5 things, and each person only committed to one of the things. You have 100% treatment acceptance rate for that day. So when you ask patients, what is your treatment acceptance rate? If you don't have software, there's many softwares, Dental Intel's one because I'm most familiar with that. But if you don't have software that shows you that, I don't know how the hell you pull that out, but you'll ask most people, most dentists, they'll tell you 85, 90%.
Yeah.
Then you turn on their lights. Like when I showed this doctor in my practice, I'm like, dude, your treatment acceptance rate is 32%. I'm like, doc, are you presenting a lot of cosmetics? No, none. I'm a real restorative guy. Like these are all fillings, crowns. These are all active decay, people with major problems. So I'm like, well, that $500,000 of work that you recommended this last quarter, only 30% of them accepted. That means the other 68% as we speak are getting worse. Their fillings are turning into crowns. Their crowns are turning into extractions. Their bridges are turning into, larger bridges. We're failing our patients. If we don't enroll them, we're failing them because they're getting worse. So if you don't adequately elaborate on the problem and what's going to happen if they choose not to, you're failing them.
100% agree. And now let's flip that again. And so let's say that you analyze someone's acceptance and they're like 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the other flip side of that, is that it's almost easy to enroll anybody in a crown of the month or the filling of the month or crown of whatever the year, right? But it becomes increasingly challenging to tell someone the value of doing the quadrant. Ms. Jones, let's do all 3 at once. It's an economy of scale. You'll save time. You only get one shot. Like speak to the benefit to them, benefited patient verbiage.
Well, also like imagine when you do DO on 29 and crown on 30. That'll be the best damn DO ever. If you had to do a crown on me, Peter, on number 30, and I had a silver filling, by the way, don't call it an amalgam. Patients don't know what an amalgam is. when my doctor was actually calling them amalgams.
Just call it mercury filling.
Mercury filling. By the way, we have to install mercury separators on my practice right now. And I'm telling patients, the state believes that it's safe for me to place your silver filling in your mouth, but it's illegal to flush it down the toilet. It's too dangerous to go in the frickin' sewer system.
But it's okay 6 inches from your brain.
Yeah, or 2 inches from your brain, whatever it is. But the point is that I would want my silver mercury filling on DO 29 taken out while you've prepped my 30, because you can actually do a really good DO. I can guarantee your DO will be better when you have the access of the crown prep next to it. That's the one time in your entire life that'll be good to do it.
Where I was going was, Greg, is that don't go for the layup just so you can have 100%. Really go with like, what would I want done if I was sitting where Mrs. Jones is sitting? And dentists, I feel like we want to be accepted so much. We want to get the success. We want to get the approval from our patients, because that's why we're here.
It's a sweaty back conversation again.
It's a sweaty back, right? So, but go for what you would want if it was your mom, your sister, your brother, and just go for that discussion. And if you fail and they say, oh, I don't like that, doc, that doesn't sound good, evaluate. I used to, early in my career, Craig, I'm not kidding you, I used to record my consultations, not for any other reason but to audit myself, because I identified there being uncomfortable portions in my dialogue that I wanted to just say, what could I have done better? What could I have said better there? Right. And then other times I was like, that was great. I'm going to really write that down and put that in my kind of repertoire. So don't be afraid to audit yourself and think that you've got it all figured out. Like, I sure as hell don't figure it out.
And by the way, your team will not want to have the sweaty back conversation and tell you suck. So when you say, hey, Natalie, how did that presentation go? How did I do? Oh, you did great. You did great.
Yeah.
Did they schedule? Well, no, they're just going to go home and ask their uncle and their grandfather, and they're going to go on the cruise. They never tell. By the way, when I was single, I asked women on dates, and many women told me they had boyfriends. And you know what? They actually didn't. They just didn't find me attractive in some way. They just didn't want to hurt my feelings. Your treatment it's okay. I'm just saying that when they don't accept your treatment, don't buy their excuse, means that they did not value you. They didn't value what you said.
All right, we beat this one. So that was number one. We beat this one.
It's upsetting.
No, it's important, and it's massive, right? So go for quad or even arch dentistry.
Start with quad. I mean, start small.
Master that, with quad. Right? And like Craig is saying, like, don't go for the home run all the time with a $50,000 case. A lot of damn doubles or quadrants, right? And if you can hit a double almost every time to bat, I promise you'll be the most popular guy in baseball, metaphorically speaking. All right. So number 2 would be one that I learned from a buddy of mine who really drilled this in my head, no pun, 15 years ago. And his name is Marvin Berlin. And he would always hound, you've got to do same-day dentistry. You've got to be open. Leave space to do same-day dentistry, right? Like, leave that availability in your schedule.
T-Bone says that too. T-Bone says when you're booked out too far.
It is the lowest hanging fruit in actually doing collection, is being able to go into an exam. Ms. Jones, I don't like the look of this. Lucky you, I just had a cancellation. Let's go bang this out right now. Most people are like, holy cow, they feel lucky, right? That they kind of just won the lottery of you having an availability, right? They feel like they're already there. It's an arbitrage of their time, right? It's an advantage of their time. They're already there, and cool. They don't have to go home and think about it and ask. Like, let's just go bang it out right now. And so having a slammed column all day, every day, will not allow this. So if you're slammed all day, every day, and to here till 2022, then like obviously you need to either create some bandwidth or hire someone that can actually take advantage of the fact that people want the convenience of same-day dentistry. It's the on-demand economy that we live in. People live in Amazon now. People live in Uber. I think that the parallel to that would be same-day dentistry while they're sitting in our office.
Absolutely.
So
100%. And the problem is that we start our practices with the sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring. Mm-hmm. And it's such a scary feeling. And then your phone finally rings and it's your mom just seeing if you need lunch or something like that. And you're like, you just want to build it so big, and you want to never go back to that feeling that you'd rather be super booked up. And when you're super, super booked up, there's a problem. And I'm in that position right now. We put these blocks in. This is an important thing to do. The insurance, I know we're getting tangential, but this is another pearl. The insurance practice will tend to grow very quickly on its own. It's like you're trying to grow tomatoes. Insurance is weeds. It grows fast. So if you accept insurance, that's cool, but you must leave blocks for your fee-for-service patients, because an insurance patient will wait, maybe a week or 2 or 3, but a fee-for-service patient won't wait more than 3 days. So keep your schedule wide open for fee-for-service blocks.
Well, I wouldn't say keep it wide open.
No, well, keep blocks, keep
a column. Yeah, exactly.
Keep a column or something like that.
And if that maybe if you're a solo doc, like, and you have one assistant, literally, I think one of the best investments for your practice would be, if you're busy, hire another assisted. What am I trying to say?
Hygiene assistant?
No. Assistant that can do expanded duties assistant. Hire an expanded duties assistant that can run an own column and be ready and willing and able to do same-day dentistry. That Absolutely. To me is like a low hanging fruit, and you will watch your production and your collections blast off. All right. Anything else to say on that, Craig? I think we hit that one hard and fast.
Okay, good. What's the third now? The third on that list?
Third one I just modified. So we're gonna have to change. We originally called this the top 3 things you need to do, but as I'm looking here, the topic is gonna change. Where there might be 5. Okay, well,
whatever. So I like top 3, and then you'll be surprised when you get in here. You get 5.
It's like a bonus.
Yeah, it's like Ginsu knives. By the way, if you sign up for our summit, you'll get a Ginsu knife, because I know that shit can cut through a can and then slice through a tomato too, right?
You are shilling the summit super hard.
I'm kidding. I'm excited about it though.
I am too. It is going to be rowdy. It's going to be.
I like when you use that word, rowdy. Every time I show a picture of Gavin doing something funny, you're like, "That's rowdy." Okay, go ahead. What number 3? Go ahead.
Number 3 would be. I think we talked about this recently. Again, I forget if sometimes we're recording when we talk or just talking.
I know. But are we recording this? I thought this was a conversation you and I have.
But number 3 would be, every time you come in to do an exam, mandate that high resolution occlusal photos are on the screen in front of that patient in some degree, whether it's an iPad. If you don't have a thing, walk in there with an iPad of it on there. If it's at the foot of the chair, if it's on the wall, mandate that is what every hygienist does. And if you don't have that, start taking high resolution.
So Pete and I, when we talked about this topic, I asked him, like, Pete, do you take a series of photos on every single patient that comes in? He's like, yes. I'm like, me too. For like the last 12 years, I've done that. Mm-hmm. So it's just so funny that, like, we don't talk about all this stuff, but we do such similar things to get such similar results. It's just uncanny. So that is so important, by the way. The first question that comes up when they see a high quality retracted occlusal view of a patient's mouth is, whose mouth is that?
Exactly. And actually, we talked about this when we had Aaron on from Dental Tech Up, and you're right, they do say that. But what I see a lot of is X-rays on the screen, and patients, they say, like, those look like toes, is what I get all the time for some reason.
And by the way,
no one knows how to read an X-ray,
but they want to know. So they're like, what's that white thing? Oh, that's your earring. What's that? And then you spent like 8 minutes, and now the average attention span of a human being is like 1 minute. So now they can't hear the problem you have. They're like just staring. They're trying to like figure out this like some sort of Rorschach ink blot test.
But everyone can understand a picture, right? Yeah. And if you struggle with communication and quote unquote enrolling dentistry, a picture will say 1,000 words for you.
And they will drive it. They will say the 1,000 words. What's that? That looks bad. Is that a concern?
It is bad. It's a crack. It's leaking.
Yeah.
It's this.
What's
it's
that? Oh, no, that's your tori. Don't worry about that. What about this? What that big silver filling in there?
But hey, Miss Jones, lucky you. That crack, I can actually see you because I just had a cancellation, and we're ready to see you if you want to go ahead and bang this out right now.
You and I are fanatics about language. I don't say cancellation because it lets people know you can cancel. I had a last minute change to my schedule.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, because if you say I had a cancellation, that means that people do that too.
All right. Yeah.
No one ever cancels. They're waiting for years for me.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome.
Last minute change. I can accommodate you today.
So number 3 is put full arch high-res photos on the screen. And I say high-res because you don't have to do an individual teeth. You can actually zoom when the high-res, high-res picture, you can zoom right into.
Because those intraoral cameras of one tooth don't speak to the patient as the whole arch does. And you can zoom in. It's so awesome.
You can zoom in and it still doesn't pixelate.
Funny enough, we never talked about this, Pete, and we're exactly the same about this on this one. Sorry. Okay, number 4. We're on a roll.
Number 4 is add services that are an impediment to people saying yes, that will help them be comfortable. And you had put down Nitrous, and I actually added sedation.
God, Nitrous is huge.
Right?
So in our practice, we charge, I think, $70. So if you do, we did the math. If you did one patient, one on each day, one patient. And by the way, with those new Porter nitrous hoods,
I love
those are
those.
so freaking badass.
That was the one reason I did not offer nitrous to
Me
people,
too,
because
me
it
too.
literally got in my way. I was like, I can't work with this.
So this is the clear plastic thing. It goes over their ears. It's flexible tubing. It doesn't restrict their motion. It doesn't restrict your face or anything like that.
Or your hands.
Or your hands. And if you just let's do the math here. So let's just say you charge $70, right? $70 is probably an average fee, I would assume. And then you did it on one patient every day for the year. You would do an extra $18,000 worth of production just by adding one nitrous to one patient once a day.
I'm going to tell you something funny that, not funny, but it's actually great that will support this. There is a practice in my town.
You get choked up about it? You getting choked up about that?
No, so I'm clearing my throat. I want to make sure I drive this. A practice in my town that has on billboards, and they're a general practice, right? They have offered on billboards free nitrous for every patient, as long as I can remember.
Oh, we have one of those in my town too.
Are they killing it?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I know this practice that I know is doing really well. It's high volume practice, right? So it's a lot of, but it's not suffering at all. And so obviously that kind of, I haven't gotten there to where I think that's something I want to kind of emulate, but I definitely want to have it available for all patients. And I kind of struggle with that. And I think, Craig, literally my own imposition was going back to the masks. A lot of the work I ever did or is on the front of people's mouths, right? So that mask used to push down on the teeth I was trying to address, which was, 5 through 12. Right.
Oh,
and it used to drive me crazy. And my assistant was like, do you want to offer nitrous? I was like, not really. They didn't ask for it.
You can't retract the lip. It's pushing down on it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so, so if you don't eat it, and if you're not plumb for nitrous, don't be afraid to use some of those mobile carts.
Who cares? Yeah.
I have some from my offices that weren't, and it works great. And also look into sedation. And there's varying degrees of sedation, but if someone's scared, which most of us are scared, hell, I'm a dentist. I'm scared of going to the dentist sometimes.
I get nitrous from my cleanings because my teeth are sensitive.
Yeah. So look into oral sedation. And then if you really want to offer an amazing benefit to people, look into getting IV certified.
Oh yeah. Amazing for sure.
Easy for me to say, because I have none of those certifications, but I just think it's amazing that our practice can offer it, because the stud and studettes that provide it in our office, and people come off of the sidelines who would never have gone in the game of dentistry had that service not been allowed. Like there's some people who are just irreversibly petrified of the dentist.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get treatment unless they have something like that.
And never judge them. Never judge them.
Never, of course. Congratulate them. Commend them for coming off. Like
the first thing, just say the first thing. There's so many patients that are scared of what you're going to say. Just say congratulations. How long has it been since you've been in the dentist? 15 years. Why have you not gone? Was it money? Was it fear? Ask them. They could say it was money and my uncle left me $5 million. And so then right now. But if it's fear, just say congratulations on taking the first step. It's awesome. Support them.
So number 5, the fifth thing we're going to talk about is to increase production is look at becoming a super GP. I feel like there's a trend in dentistry where people are expecting, again, going back to number, the on-demand economy, people are expecting things done under a consolidated house of services, meaning under one roof. No one wants to go across town. No one wants a referral. I'm not saying that you should be a jack of all trades, right? But identify where there could be massive benefits to your patient population by not having to send them out. Whether it's implants, learn to do that. The technology now is allowing us to become super GPs if we want, right? It's disrupting the industry. And you and I are going to talk about this a lot at the Orem. Got it right, Craig.
Oh my God, you've been practicing, Pete.
I have.
Orem. Appetite for disruption.
Appetite. Hey, you just gave it, dude. You just stole our thunder. That is the term. We don't tell anything else.
Edit out. Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to edit out. So next month we're talking about this at Orem, and it is the trend of where the super GP, and we've always said this, and it's just funny how this is becoming, like you're hearing other people talk about it. I feel like we coined that, and maybe we did not, but I feel like we did in the book. But anyway, that being said, look at some low-hanging fruit where you're seeing a lot of referrals go out that maybe you could utilize technology and your available bandwidth and the fact that you want to learn another skill. Look at that and let that factor into your decision upon what you're going to do going forward into 2020. Because wow, really, patients, you've established that rapport. You know how patients are always like, can't you just do this for me? How many times have you heard that, Craig? Like, hey doc, can't you just do it? Like, Ms. Jones, you do not want me to do this on you. You want me to do extraction on you? Please, I'm comfortable with you. Please don't refer me out. And I had to say, typically, like, trust me, you don't want me doing this. You'll get a dry socket.
It's true. It's true.
But luckily, I have Dr. Curry and all the guys and gals in my practice that can do amazing extractions. So if you don't want to learn, then maybe hire for your weaknesses. Just like we said, hire an associate or a trial partner into your practice that can actually fill in for, so you at least have a super GP practice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the reason why Target wants to sell toilet paper and milk and. I mean, people don't want to go to multiple places. I mean, how many times have you bought something on Amazon knowing it's $1 more, but you know you're not going to go to CVS in the next 4 days to get Q-tips?
Yep.
You don't need them really bad, but you just want the convenience of it. So it's becoming convenient.
It's the economy we live in. The on-demand economy is going to become more and more pervasive.
And by the way, the likelihood of a person seeking specialty care decreases proportionately to the distance they have to drive. So handing this is a true fact. This is proven. So if you give someone a referral saying, hey, go to the oral surgeon, and he's right there, the next operatory over, you're 90% going to go. I'm making the numbers up, but just for the sake of the understanding. If it's down the hallway, it's 80. If it's down the next floor and the next building, it's down to 50. If it's down across town, it's 20%. So proximity relates to the referral pattern. So bring people on that can do it. And even Bloody Tooth Guy said that. I couldn't believe he said that.
He really did. That was awesome.
The oral surgeon said, hey, what I would give advice to people, it's kind of not self-serving advice, but I would have specialists come into my office. Freaking crazy. Why the hell would he say that? That hurts his business model. I thought it was cool. That guy's a badass.
Because he's an abundant thinker. That's why.
He's an abundant thinker. He's not a fixed mindset, growth mindset.
And that's that. I'm done with the top 5, unless you can think of anything else.
Hat, bro? Don't you love it?
I love it. I have stuff that looks very, very similar to that, Craig. I wonder.
No, you don't. I designed that logo, bro.
Craig, are you kidding me?
No. Don't go there. Let's have this argument offline so people don't think that this is scripted. We'll put a pin in this, Pete.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm gonna go get a corned beef out of Mr. Schwartz's front teeth.
Okay. You just violated HIPAA if that was a real name.
No, it's not. You know how many Mrs. Schwartz's we have in South Florida, bro?
I'm kidding.
All right, bro.
All right. Over. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Later.
See you next time. Bye-bye.